Hi, Peter Charles here, and today I thought it'd be a good idea if we took a look at some of my street photos and the thought processes I had, how I approached it, and some of the techniques I used to get those photos. Because it's always valuable to listen to how somebody else does something. I always pick up tips from listening to other photographers and watching other photographers. So here's my chance to pass along something as well. This particular photo was taken during that walk I referred to on my Telling a Story video. I was with a young woman. We were talking about what constitutes a good street photo, and I said one that tells a story. And in this case, you can see the unhappy look on the gentleman's face, his rather closed stance with his arms crossed, in contrast to the people inside that seem to be having a nice time with their coffees and their meals. So there's a little story here of somebody being alone. While the vast majority of street photos are usually candid, this one is not. I actually asked this tech if he would mind if I took his picture in front of his workplace, and he agreed. So it's posed, but it still conveys a story about the man's workplace and the fact that the bay is empty of customers' cars and he's waiting for a customer to show up. This photo might look posed, but it's just a woman taking a break, a hairdresser, taking a break from her work and enjoying a drink against the wall. And it's just the kind of the geometry of the shot that appealed to me more than the storytelling. Just the cigarette and the drink. And it says taking a break. I was walking down the street and I happened to see this woman standing cross-legged beside the bus shelter, waiting for a bus. And her expression suggested she's totally lost in thought. She's off on another world. And because of that, I was shot this in a less candid way. I used the drop-down screen on the XT10 to compose this a little bit better than the typical street shot. This photo looks like it could have been done in a studio, but it's actually a coffee shop. And this is part of my practice of taking insurance shots. When I can't get close to a subject immediately, I'll bang off a couple of shots and then try to move closer. I was standing in line waiting for my coffee when I took this photo, and it took a lot of work in post to get it into decent shape. And just after I got my coffee, I started moving in her direction to get a better shot, and she was gone. So all I had to work with was my insurance shot, and I think that's a good policy for people to use when they don't think they can get close to a subject quickly. I was leaving a small shopping arcade in Cape Cod when I happened to see this guy leaning against the door, and I took one quick shot before I moved on because he was about to leave. And I was intrigued by the sunlight going through his shopping bag, the angle of his body relationship to the angle of the stair railings. And I thought it came together quite well, but it's an example sometimes all you get is one shot. Again, this guy was about to leave. And you get that one shot off and then you try to compose and get something better. And here's another example where I had to live with my insurance shot and just work with it in post. Now this image is a lesson in perseverance. I was on the other side of a busy 4-lane road and I'm walking down, I look across and I see her sitting there. And I think to myself, she's not going to be there if I go across the road. I keep on walking and I look back and she's still sitting there. So I double back, wait for the red light, waiting for a red light, wait for the green light, cross the road, and I walk by her hoping that she'll turn and look at me, but she doesn't. You can see there's a coffee cup beside her. She was busy with a coffee cup. I kept on walking and I said, I'll turn back and hope for an opportunity. And I made one more pass and she turned and looked at me and I got the shot. And lucky for me, that gentleman at the back right decided to enter the frame, completing the picture. So it's worth not giving up and keep on trying. This is a case of doing a bit of planning. I was at the waterfront, nothing much was happening, and I could see this woman walking along with her dog. So I flipped down the screen on my camera and aimed it out over the water and waited for her to walk into the frame. And it just so happened she saw me looking out over the water not realizing she's the subject, and she looks over out of the water to see what I'm looking at. And I got this great picture. I really like it. It sort of fits together. Her hat looks like those stanchions, and her and the dog match. The chain and the leash goes together. I mean, this shot really came together for me. It really is a good example of having some patience and some anticipation. Here's another example of an insurance shot being the only one I got. I could see this woman crouching down with her phone and whatever else she had in her hand. And I'm walking towards her, hoping to get a few shots, and she turns and looks at me, and you can see my reflection in the window. And then, of course, the shot is gone at that point. So all I had to work with was my insurance shot. I left the lean in the picture. I didn't take it out because I think it adds to the uncertainness, or maybe the don't like to use the word unpleasantness, but the unsettling nature of the picture. In this case, I just stood there watching these guys play chess till I saw something that was worthy of a picture, and just this guy's pose matched with the woman behind him who was writing in her book. Uh, that's the one picture that worked. I got two or three other pictures, but this is the one that came together, and it's all about the pose and just sitting there waiting for the picture to happen. This was on a very, very busy city street. A lot of people walking by, and I got a gap in the crowd just to get the shot off, and he happened to see me just as I was getting the picture off. And I think the whole shot of the way he and the dog come together, and the word Mariah over the dog's head like a thought bubble is like the dog has seen his girlfriend, which is kind of cute. Anyway, as I say, this one really worked for me. I did have to do a lot of cropping to it to get rid of all the people around him. But other than that, I think the shot came together quite nicely. This is probably my first good street shot with a digital camera. Up until then, I'd only ever used film cameras in street photography back when we were in the Montreal area. And I picked up my XE1 and a Voigtlander 21mm lens and went prowling the street. And she actually owns that shop that she's about to walk into. And so you can see the anticipation, and it's the contrast between her and the dog, I think, that really makes the shot. I'll finish off with this photo that was done with a simple point and shoot camera, just with a 1/2 inch sensor. It shows that you don't need anything really elaborate to get a good street photo. I mean, a lot of people use just their phones to do good street photography. And I happened to see this guy poking up over behind the seat, looking at her, about to, I don't know whether he was about to prank her or what he had in mind, but it was kind of creepy, and I thought it was rather funny. So I went for the shot. Okay, there you go. That was my selection of some street photos that I've taken over the years. Some of these photos date back about 11, 12 years ago. And give you an idea of the types of photography I did and the way I approached it, because some of that might be useful for you as well. So I hope you got something out of it. Cheers.